Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you fragrances that I have repurchased and will continue to repurchase. I have been wearing fragrances since I was a very young girl, so I have a good couple of years to cover with these repurchases, and hopefully you can find something that you enjoy through my recommendations. To get started, I'm going to start with JLo Glow. This is quite an old fragrance. I believe it came out in the early 2000s, maybe 2004. I could be wrong on that, I haven't researched it. This was one of my first ever fragrances. I'll be honest, this is not my bottle. I don't have a bottle anymore, but it was one of the first fragrances that I ever encountered. My mother used to wear this when I was a very young girl, and I loved smelling it on her, and eventually I used my own pocket money to buy a bottle myself. Thankfully it wasn't too expensive back then. I don't think it's that expensive now, but it was definitely cheaper back then. Over the course of my life, I think I've had 3 bottles of this, various sizes, but I've used all of them up, and it's a very nostalgic scent for me. Another nostalgic scent is Lamont. Again, this is a fragrance that my mother wore during the 90s, and for me it's so nostalgic that I always have a bottle with me just because it reminds me of childhood. This is a very old-fashioned scent, but it's not too old lady, if that makes sense, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying that. It's a floral scent, but it's musky as well. And to me, it's very, very homely. Would be a good word for me to use, because it reminds me of childhood. So I always have that on hand. Next up, we have Vera Wang Princess. Don't mind my lights reflecting. I wore this in high school, and I have a funny story about this one because I didn't realise what I'm about to tell you. When I was in high school, I had a phase where I was obsessed with Amy Winehouse. I still absolutely adore her now, but it was an extreme amount to the point I wore the eyeliner. Eventually I dyed my hair black. You get the point. And it turns out that I found out very recently that Amy Winehouse wore this fragrance. This was her signature scent. I was also wearing this scent, having no idea that we were both wearing it at the same time, which I thought was a very interesting piece of information. So again, this is a very nostalgic scent for me. Yeah, it's very homely for me. This is my second bottle. I haven't used much of this one because my fragrance collection is so large, but eventually I will use this up and I will continue to repurchase this, and it reminds me of Amy now, and I feel like I have a piece of her with me. Speaking of celebrities, I have Midnight Fantasy by Britney Spears. This is another high school nostalgic scent for me. For me, it smells like blackberries. I don't know if it smells like that to other people, but it's like a musky blackberry scent. I wore this to death in high school, and I used to mix it with Far Away by Avon. Yeah, that's how far back we're going. I've had 2 or 3 bottles of this. I think this is my 3rd bottle, and again I will continue to repurchase this. Out of all of the Britney Spears scents, this is my favourite one, but we will be going on to more. Carrying on with Britney Spears, I have Fantasy. I only purchased one Fantasy, I do like these. They are very much, it does remind me of a cupcake. I took a while to try this one because I was using Midnight Fantasy for so long. I was just loyal to that one scent. I also had Curious, which came in like a blue diamond looking bottle. But Midnight Fantasy was my OG. This one was newer to me. I've had this. This is an empty, by the way. I tend to keep my empties because I can recycle them in. It's either the perfume shop or the fragrance shop. They have a scheme to get 15% off. But I do have more Naked fragrances. Since trying the original Fantasy, I have Naked Fantasy. I also have Intimate Fantasy. And I have Fantasy Candied. These are very, very new for me. I bought them this month because I got a good deal on them. But we'll start off with Naked Fantasy. In my opinion, this one is much more grown up. I think this one suits a teenage girl, definitely a sweet 16 sort of scent, but this one definitely has more of a grown woman feel. To me, it's quite sexy with a hint of peach. I don't think other people can smell that, but to me, it's like a skin scent, very intimate skin scent with a hint of peach to it, and I quite enjoy that. Speaking of skin scents, Intimate Fantasy. This one has, I believe this one has lemon notes, but considering it's supposed to be so intimate, I think it's the strongest scent that Britney Spears has come out with, and I've been wearing it quite a lot recently. You can't see it with the bottle, unfortunately, but I really do like this one. In fact, I think all of the bottles are really stunning, despite the fact that they all look the same, just different shades. They are really stunning. Lastly, in the Britney Spears collection that I have was the Candied Fantasy. This one for me is more of a spring summer scent. Whilst I've been trying to wear it in the winter, it makes me feel a little bit sick. I don't think it's for this kind of climate, so I will definitely be getting a lot more use of this in the summertime. But it's definitely closest to the original Fantasy, in my opinion. Moving on from the Britney Spears collection, I now have Pink Friday by Nicki Minaj. This was a fragrance that I had as I was entering college. This is my second bottle. I finished the first one fairly quickly, and then I went through many years of not being able to find this again, and I found it again maybe 2 years ago. There was only one store that stocked this fragrance. It's very girly in my opinion. It's fruity and floral at the same time, and if the scent had a colour, it would definitely be pink. That's the best way I can describe this scent. Next up, we have somewhat of a more mature scent. It's not too mature, but it is by Dolly Parton, Scent from Above. This is my first bottle. I bought the smaller size of it, but I do really want to get 100ml of this. It's easily one of my most favourite scents, and it's so cheap. The weird thing I have about this fragrance is that it's very nostalgic to me, but I don't know why it's nostalgic. I don't have a specific memory to be like, oh, I remember wearing this. It's just, it feels homely, and really nostalgic, but I don't have a memory associated to it, which I think that's why I like it. It's very musky. I can smell caramel in this. There is no caramel notes in it, but I can smell a really strong sense of caramel in it, and that's what I like. But I will definitely be getting the full size of this, and I imagine I will get more once I finish that as well. So yeah, absolute favourite. Next up we have a very, very special set to me, which is Irresistible by Givenchy. I have my original bottle here, which is completely empty, it's bone dry, and I have my replacement. For me, this scent is very special because there was a time in my life where I did get out of a very abusive situation, and this was the fragrance that I started wearing when I left. So for me, this does represent freedom, independence, new beginnings, womanhood. It's very clean. It's girly, but it's not too young. I think definitely someone in their 30s, 40s would like this. It's very fresh, it's very soft, and out of all of the fragrances I've ever worn in my life, this one has got me so many compliments, and it started so many conversations. I couldn't possibly tell you how many women have stopped me in the street to say, "What are you wearing?" when I wore this, and I've recommended so many women to buy this, especially when it's in a gift set, because it's a really good deal. It's usually like £50. You get typically a 50ml bottle, and you'll get like a lotion or something, which I think is an amazing deal. So I'm always stocking up on these. Next up, I have another sentimental fragrance, which is Chanel Chance Tendre. Probably butchered that. As you can see, this is empty. This was the first ever designer high-end fragrance I ever bought. I was 17 and it lasted me 10 years to finish this entire bottle, and you can still smell it. It's very strong. It can induce headaches, even in me when I first had this. There were times I'd go out and even I would get a headache from it. So it's very strongly floral, but I do love it. And of course, the fact it was my first ever purchase of a high-end product means the absolute world to me. I'm keeping this bottle, by the way. This is sentimental value for me. Next up, speaking of high-end, we have Valentino. I believe this one is Born in Roma. It's something Roma. I can't remember the full name. I think it's Born in Roma. Or Donna di Roma, maybe. But you'll know because it's a yellow fragrance. This one is empty. You can see a tiny bit at the bottom that couldn't come out. I've said this in a previous video. This is a holiday in a bottle. And I will buy this one again. Everything about it is so delicious. It's like a creamy, lemony, musky scent. But it just feels so cozy, even though you're on holiday. It's literally like going to Italy. And everything feels warm and you feel safe. It's just a really beautiful scent that I will keep on buying. And lastly, we have a body mist, which is Sol de Janeiro 62. This is the salted caramel, pistachio and salted caramel. This is my second bottle, by the way. I've used like not quite a quarter of it yet. I think everyone knows what this smells like by now. It's a hit for a reason. It's very, very warm. It's very cozy. It's a really beautiful scent. Some of the fragrances I like to wear this with is Lieb, probably butchering that again, or Libre by YSL, Burberry Goddess, and Coffee Break by Replica. Coffee Break by Replica. That is also another scent I would buy. I don't have it anymore, I finished it, but the Coffee Break by Replica, I would repurchase that again as well. This one goes so beautifully with any coffee scent or any vanilla scent. It's chef's kiss. And that was all of the fragrances that I would repurchase or are still on my list to repurchase. Thank you so much for watching. Don't mind me getting strangled by my own hoodie. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, and if you feel like subscribing, don't hesitate. It really would mean the world to me to see so much more support and likes and comments. I would really like to know what you would repurchase. What are your favourite scents? And just get a conversation going. I hope to see you in my next video. See you next time. Bye.